Okay, pro tip, wearing a set of gardening knee pads helps when you have to climb on the rack of your truck. Take care of your knees. Okay, now we go for a drive. Welcome back to the vlog, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, my name is Brad. I go by TheWhalen, and this is my vlog about general camping, overlanding, truck venture, using my Raptor, going places, having a good fun time. And today's vlog is focused on a question that I probably get asked most often in all of my comments, whether that be on YouTube or Instagram. It's about my roof rack. So we're going to have a little bit of an in-depth question and answer session, so to speak, on what I like about my roof rack, why I chose it, what I don't like about my roof rack, and all the little questions that get tossed around here. And I'm trying to be as in-depth as possible for coverage of this rack. Okay, one of the questions I get asked a lot is, do you have to drill to install the KC-HiLites M-Series rack? And the answer is yes, you have to drill. So you actually have to install 12 rib nuts in the roof and mount the rack to those rib nuts once installed. And I know that can be a lot of anxiety for a lot of people to drill into their brand new vehicle or, you know, relatively new vehicle. But yes, you do have to do it, but it probably creates the most stable platform that you can ask for when installing a rack on the roof of a vehicle. What I would recommend doing if you're doing that is to measure the rack, measure the roof, and tape out everything you need to do in advance, and then check and tape a second time, and then check and make sure your marks are good a third time before you start drilling. Because once you start drilling into the roof, it's kind of no turning back at that point. So make sure that you are super confident in doing that yourself, or you can hire a professional to do it. You will probably be paying more if you do it that way, and you have to accept that fact, but that is definitely a way to go. Another thing to point out about the rack when installing it is you'll notice that the side rails are actually thin metal, and the majority of the rigidity comes from the cross sections that go across and connect the side rails together. One of the things that I might recommend doing, because we did it and it actually is a pretty good idea, is installing in those cross sections there are areas where you can slide in bolts or whatnot to fasten things to the rack. And we actually used speed nuts in there, and actually in certain situations custom fabricated nuts that we actually put in so that we can actually drill things and mount things into the rack. So that's a good thing to do. And you kind of have to do it at the beginning. You can add them in later, but it's kind of a pain because you have to take the rack apart to slide them in. So definitely putting those in the beginning of the process is a good idea. Another question I get asked is, did I get the emblem, the M-Series Emblem, in blue to match the truck, or did I have to do that on my own or whatnot? And yeah, I did have it painted, custom painted blue to match the truck. I'm bougie like that. What are you gonna do? Does the rack rattle? I get a lot of folks asking about a metal rattle or a metal on metal sound, and actually I don't really get much of a rattle out of this rack that I noticed anyway. But one thing that we did do when we installed the rack was we added a layer of weather stripping underneath the rack where it touches metal to roof, right? So it's not just bare metal on roof. We actually have a layer, and it's super simple. We just went to like Home Depot or Ace Hardware or what have you, and got a strip of some automotive weather stripping, and then put it on underneath before we bolted it all together. So if you want to limit the amount of noise rattle, that might be a trick that you can do when you install your rack, is to add that weather stripping. What lights do I have in the rack? Well, I went with the Gravity Pro6 LED in the front. I just like the look of that one. You could also go with straight up light bar if you want more streamlined look. And then on the sides, you have the 10-inch C-Series LED lights that are side mounted and custom for this rack. All those lights combined pump out a lot of light. It's amazing how much those side lights will light up a camp or a trail when you're going through a space, the forest, or even in the desert at night, how much you get out of the sides there, and that gives you a lot of visibility to what's around you. And then those Gravity 6 lights on front pump out a massive amount of light in front. You will not miss anything. So those are the lights installed on this one. I think they're great, and I'm very happy with them. Did I find my Gravity Pro6 light caps in black, or did I have that done? I actually just spray painted them. We sanded them down and the KC logo off and painted them. I wanted a little bit more of a uniform, black look, and I wasn't too savvy on having the KC logo on there. I mean, if KC wants to sponsor me someday, then I'll rock their KC logo, but that's not happening right now. So right now we're just black, and it works out great. What is the measurements and clearances of the rack? So from the base of the roof to the bottom of the cross beam that goes across and connecting the two sides is about 1 1/8 of an inch. Not quite 1 1/4. It's a little under that. So you have that, a small amount of space there, but it is plenty of space for the sunroof, which we'll get to in a minute. But the other measurements in question on my particular rack, total height, if you include the cases, is about 8.5 inches above the roof. Can the sunroof open with the rack on? Absolutely it can. That's probably one of the top questions I get, and by all means you can open, close, lift. You can open your sunroof with that rack on. Yes, there's wind noise. So when I first got it, probably the first week I really noticed it, especially at free. You don't really notice it tooling around like in the city or low speeds, but once you get to freeway speeds, you're going to hear some noise. And quite frankly, it stopped bothering me after a week. So I don't really care, but yes, you'll get wind noise. If that is something that's a deal breaker for you, then you have your answer. But yeah, you'll get some wind noise, and after a while, you just stop noticing. That was my experience anyway. What are the cases I'm using on my rack? So those are actually Plano rifle cases that I got on Amazon for a super good deal. I'm pretty sure I paid under $70 per case, and they work fantastic. We actually mounted them to the rack into the bolts that are in the cross beams, and weather sealed it. So we drilled through the cases and then weather sealed around the holes, and then they just live up there permanently. It's not completely watertight. Like, I think, condensation will start getting in there, but I don't keep anything in there that it really matters. Most of the stuff that's in there is recovery gear. So it's like tow straps, D-rings, I have a trailer hitch in there. I do have a come along in there because I don't have a winch, and, a breaker bar for the wheels. Just things of that nature. I even think I have a tire repair kit in there, to be honest. So it's super great utility, and I actually started with one of them, and I love them so much I got another one, and I also kind of like symmetry, so I got another case and put it up there as well. So yeah, fantastic add-on, and adds a great amount of utility to extra space to carry things around. Which, by the way, space is a commodity when you overland. You're always looking for extra space, so it's a fantastic solution. What is the nubby thing on the rack? That's actually a VHF antenna for a VHF radio, and that is what the nubby thing on the roof rack is. There's actually another antenna in the back as well, and that one is for a cell phone booster, and that's just actually it's not on the rack, it's actually on the cab, but it looks like it is. And that's a cell phone booster that helps broadcast a signal inside of the cab of the truck to amplify your cell phone signal when you're off in the middle of nowhere and you would normally have a poor cell phone signal. Don't like, and things I like about the roof rack. So things I don't like. It's kind of hard to clean the roof. So with the roof rack on, you have to spray, you got to get your power washer in there in a certain way, and there's some spots where you just kind of have to accept the fact that you're probably not going to get to and they're going to be dirty. And then getting into the microfiber cloth afterwards to scrape down is kind of a pain. So cleaning the roof, a lot more difficult with the rack on. So that's kind of a drawback. It adds height. So the rack itself, just bare, is about 3 inches high above the cab. With everything I have on it, including the rifle cases, it's about 8.5 inches taller than just the roof itself. So that's going to limit you in terms of going into like parking garages or your home garage. You might not fit in with that. So adding height can be kind of a drawback in terms of access to tight, low spaces. Altogether, I measured the total height of my truck with the rack on, and I'm at 7.5 feet tall with that rack on. So basically, whenever I go into a parking garage, it has to be an 8-foot clearance or higher for me to get through it. That noise is my radar detector. Don't worry about that. What are things I like about the roof rack? Well, the number one thing I have to say is probably the utility aspect of it, because I can add those cases up there, giving me more storage space. I can strap things to the roof if I need to. And especially for overland, again, having space is a premium. It just gives you a better platform to mount to and to have utility. So that is number one. Next would be the lights. I really like the light that this thing puts out when you have it maxed out with all the lights on it. It's super handy off-road. If you're going to camp at night, or you get to camp late and you want to set up at night, flip on the lights, you illuminate everything, and you can easily set up the camp like it was daylight. And that is great. If you're going off-road at night, it allows you to have the confidence of driving at a nighttime conditions and not worry about, missing an obstacle or not seeing something, because you can just light up everything in your path. So that's fantastic. And then the third and final thing I like about the roof rack, and to be honest with you, it looks cool. I mean, come on. So that is my list. And would I recommend it? Yeah, I would recommend that roof rack. If you are into overland, if you want to do camping, if you need to haul stuff, if you want extra storage space, absolutely, this rack is great. What situations would I maybe not recommend it? If you needed to get through tight spaces often, if you parked in parking garages a lot, if you plan on jumping your truck a ton, I'm not sure. It might add a level of difficulty to that because it's just something else that could go wrong. But it might be fine. I don't know. I don't super jump this truck because I kind of have it as an overlanding platform. But I have taken it hard off-road in the Mojave and in the St. Anthony sand dunes with this rack on, and I had absolutely no problems at all. So maybe it's fine. Totally fine that way. But yeah, that is my review and talk about my roof rack. Hopefully that was comprehensive enough for everybody. If you like this content, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.